Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of the United States of Us. Hi, Lori. Hi, Jamie.
Hi,
Hey,
We
Tammy.
are
Hi, Jamie.
very honored today to have a special guest join us, Jamey LeVier. And without further ado, I'm going to let Lori introduce Jamie, and we'll get going today.
Wow. Hi, Jamie. We're so happy you're here with us today. You and I mean, we worked together at the bank. Like Tammy and I worked together at the same bank many years before that. I'm not going to quite age myself and talk about how long ago that was, but it's been amazing that for me to be here with both of you, being that I've worked with both of you. Y'all both have, somewhat of a little bit of a similar path of finding your way to sobriety. And Jamie, I love that you've got your platform, Sober Man on a Mission, which is a little bit different than a 12-step program. So we would love to hear about your story and what brought you here to this today. So thank you
okay.
again for being here.
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. This is a real honor. So I appreciate it. And Lori, we do go way back, and I think the universe did bring me here. On my journey, just it brings people across your path that you're like, wait a minute, what happened? Okay, I'm just gonna go with it. Like Tammy. I
Right.
mean, I think Tammy and I are kindred souls. So, um,
Absolutely.
and I've never met you in person.
Story of my life these days.
So I'll go back to when I was 6 years old. I was standing in my grandmother's kitchen, and my uncle, who was a heavy drinker most of his life, he's passed on now. My favorite uncle, actually, I was standing there, and he had a pony bottle of Pabst Blue Ribbon. It was about level with my face, and he looked at me, and he looked around because there was other adults in the room. He goes, "You want to sit?" Being cool. I'm like, yeah, I'll take a sip. So he put it to my mouth, and I remember taking the drink and how strong it was, and how it smelled kind of odd. I didn't like the smell at first, but something awoke in me that I really liked it. Like, wow, this is really cool. And at 6 years old, thinking that, I look back now and I think, why would I think that at 6 years old? Why didn't I just spit it out? Because it didn't taste that great, but a part of me really liked it. Fast forward, I throughout my life, my mom, she drank occasionally. She would keep Seagram sevens in the cupboard, and she would have some homemade wine here and there. And I remember sneaking in and getting it when I was, fourth, fifth, sixth grade, into her closet and getting her alcohol when she was at work. And I'd do the old fill the Seagram 7 bottle up with water so she wouldn't know I drank any. But she wasn't stupid. She knew I was getting into it. Years later, she told me that. Then go to, throughout high school, of course, I'd go to parties and hoop it up. And um, then through college, of course, I had somewhat of a religious conversion when I was in 11th grade. I went to a football camp at Geneva College in Pittsburgh. It was sponsored by Athletes in Action, and all my heroes were there. A lot of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Webster was my counselor, and I became friends with a guy named Ouija Thompson, who was a receiver for the Steelers at the time, and we've actually kept in touch to this day. So I had a conversion there. We had Bible studies every night, and I was raised pretty much in the church. My dad, my grandma, they would always make sure that my sisters and I went to church. So I got a really good footing in Christianity and, the teachings of Jesus and so forth. So I had accepted Christ in the backyard of my cousin, who was a preacher, after that football camp. And when I did that, I felt like all this grime and dirt and everything just kind of lifted off of me. it was an incredible experience. Like the grass got greener, life was better, and everything for probably a couple months, and then it kind of settled down, and life took over again. So, as probably many young Christians do, I struggled a lot with, I shouldn't be out here drinking, I shouldn't be doing this and that. So I fast forward through college, through my first many years of my career and marriage and kids, I had that struggle between my Christianity, my faith, my belief, and the addiction I had to alcohol. And I balanced that. I was the treasurer of a church for a couple years, and I was faithful going to church. But at night, I was drinking beer like there's no tomorrow. And that was a constant conflict within me for my entire life, adult life. And then after 21 years of marriage, um, I did some things I'm not proud of through the drinking and the alcohol. And I always said alcohol has never done anything good for me. And it never did. So why do I do it? I don't know. I just kept doing it. Got a divorce, met Jennifer, in fact, in Memphis. She worked at the bank too. You know Jennifer, Lori. Fabulous, fabulous woman. She put up with my shit for a while, and but she never said you need to go to rehab, you need to quit, you need to do this. She didn't push me or anything. She just knew because her father was an alcoholic, and he was 7 years sober when I met him, 7 or 8 years sober, and he passed away a few years ago during COVID. But I would ride around in the car with him, and he knew I was an alcoholic. He knew it, and he would take me to AA meetings, and felt like he knows he wants me to do something about it, but I'm not ready. And Jennifer never pushed me. So one day I remember the night. It was November 10th of 2022. I had finished off probably a half a jug of, and I'm not bragging here, but um, a half a jug of Jack Daniels, probably 12 beers. And when I was drinking like that, I just couldn't get enough. It would be midnight, and I would want to run out and get more beer if I ran out. So I would drink the rest of Jennifer's bottles of wine, and it was bad. The next morning, I woke up and something inside me just lit me up. Like, you are going to die. You're going to lose everything if you don't stop drinking. But I didn't know how. I didn't know how to quit. I didn't know, the things that ran through my mind were, geez, what if I go to my friend's house and they offer me a beer? What do I do? Stupid stuff like that would run through my head. I guess it was my ego trying to protect me. So I decided once and for all, I said, I have to do something about it. I had pancreatic issues along the way, and I felt that pain coming back a little bit after that night. So I went in Jennifer's office. We have an office here at home. She works from home. And I said, I'm ready to quit. This is I call it my 4 a.m. promise. Um, she goes, okay, how you want to do it? I said, I, I want to, I want to go to rehab. I want to go and put myself in rehab, and I want to quit. She goes, okay. So I just happened to pick the same rehab that her dad did here in Madison, Alabama. It's called Bradford. So that was a Friday. We had plans to visit my son and his family in Pensacola, Florida. We live in Huntsville, so it's only like a 5 hour drive. We visited him. He's a police officer. Of course, growing up, he knew my drinking. Was never a bad dad. I wasn't violent. I wasn't anything like that. I was very what they call functional. But I never wanted the label of alcoholic or going to AA. It just wasn't for me. But I came to a point where I needed help and I knew it. So we went to visit my son, and I told him what I was doing, and he looked at me and he said, "Thank you." And I started to cry, and Jennifer started to cry, and I said, "I mean it. I'm done." He goes, "Okay." So that Monday, I put myself in rehab, and what an experience that was. It humbled me to the most humble point I've ever been in my life. I was in there with people who were strung out on really hard drugs. I was in there with people who they just came in to get detoxed for the week, and that's what they do. They detox for the week and they go back. They stay sober for a month and then they just hit it again and come back in. I was in with people that were ordered by the court to be in there. Um, and I was in there with a few people like me who I still stay in touch with to this day. And unfortunately, two of the three have relapsed, but we've stayed in contact. And I'm very non-judgmental. I'm not like one of those smokers that quit and says cigarettes are terrible, they're evil, you need to quit smoking. I don't. That's not me. If you want to drink alcohol, it doesn't bother me. You can drink around me if you want. It's my deal. It's not your deal. You don't have to feel a certain way. And I've told all of our friends that you don't have to feel a certain way when you come here. My friends that come here, two of them are very good friends, husband and wife. They keep their alcohol here in our garage refrigerator because they don't want to have to keep buying it and bring it here. We have a pool and we have little parties, and it doesn't even tempt me to drink it. And I'll get to how I got to that way, but how I deal with that. But in rehab, it really humbled me. In about 10 days, 7 to 10 days into rehab, I was sitting at lunch with a guy and I looked across the table and I said, I've got this. I want to go home now. I got this. And he laughed at me because in rehab, they drill it into your brain that you're never going to get over this. You'll be in constant recovery. You'll never move on to being a person who is not an alcoholic. Your brain is broken and there's nothing you can do about it. I rejected that. I said, okay, maybe my brain is broken. Maybe my amygdala works how you says it works. That's fine. But I'm not a broken person. And I refuse to accept that. And coincidentally, last night, I showed this to Jennifer this morning. Last night, I got a text from one of the guys that I was in rehab with. Haven't spoken to him. I mean, we haven't texted in months. Just, your life takes over. He texted me last night. I had sent him a link to this podcast. He said, I want to tell you something. He says, you continue to inspire me by the way you've approached your situation. He said, I don't know anybody else that has done it like you've done it. He goes, I'm so happy that you're sharing your methodology because he goes, he, he says, I'm not quite there yet, but I know that it's helping me just, watching your videos and on Sober Man on a Mission. Uh, and that made me feel good. It made me feel good that, what, I am on the right path. And I was talking to a gentleman the other day. I said, I feel like this is my path in life for the rest of my life now. I was put on this earth to go through all the crap that I've been through. I mean, I've had a good life, but when it comes to alcohol, it's just been a huge struggle. It was a huge struggle. So I looked at the guy and said, I'm ready to go home. And he laughed at me. And I said, no, I'm serious. I've got this figured out in my head. I've always been a big Wayne Dyer fan. And one thing that Wayne Dyer has said to me has stuck with me. Two things. One, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. That 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 stuck with me. And the other thing was, unless you can see yourself as a person who doesn't drink, you'll not stay sober for the rest of your life. You have it's you're not a person who can't drink because that invites conflict. That invites a prohibition. You're not allowed to do that. If somebody tells me not allowed to do something, I want to do it. So I had to change my subconscious into knowing that I'm just a person who doesn't drink. That's it. And once I got there, once I could see myself living my future life without alcohol, something snapped in my brain. And I've lived with that. I've lived with that change now for almost 4 years. I'll be without alcohol 4 years in November. And you know, I'll be honest, not every day is a struggle now for me. People say every day is a struggle. It is for some people, but it's not. There are times like last night we went out for dinner and a guy carried this really beautiful looking frosty glass full of amber beer past me. And I looked at it. I'm like, you are beautiful and you're wonderful, and somebody's really going to enjoy you, but it's not going to be me. And then I didn't feel any urge to take it off and drink it or anything. It's like my brain has my subconscious has changed. My identity has changed to just somebody who doesn't drink now. And you always I get these thoughts like, oh my gosh, the other foot's going to fall here. You're going to accidentally, or you're going to get in a bad situation. You're going to take a drink, and all this is going to be hypocrisy, and it's going to come crumbling down on you. Why are you exposing yourself like this on Sober Man on a Mission? You're an idiot. You know, those kind of thoughts sneak in. But I just keep going because I know the universe is on my side. I know that, and this has been what I'm about to say has been so real in my life that once you commit to something, dormant forces come alive and support you. I know that sounds woo woo, but that is absolutely true.
I
They,
don't know that I would even call it dormant, Jamie. I mean, I feel like the universe steps in when you claim it, when you speak it into existence, the universe lines up to meet you.
yeah, yeah, that's a great way to say it. Yeah. And it's happened. It's happening. I've I've seen these coincidences happen time and time and time again, and
Mhm.
I've become a firm believer, or let's just say I've become a knower that the idea of manifesting is real. It's all about energy, and quantum quantum physics is now sort of proving what I guess we've always known in our spirit, that energy, that God energy is what rules the universe. And I see science and religion really coming together lately, through this quantum. And I won't get into all that, but it's amazing. I started writing a book on how science and religion has gotten closer and closer and closer and closer to science proving religion, and religion confessing that science is right. So when that happens, that convergence happens. I think the world's just going to totally change. I feel it changing now. And I've heard people say that, oh, I feel the energy changing. Well, it is changing. I feel it. I'm sitting on a podcast. If you asked me 5 years ago if I'd be sitting here talking about my sobriety, I'd call you nuts. You're crazy. So circling back, I got through rehab, and when I came out of rehab and I walked out those doors and we were driving home, I felt like a foreigner in my own land. I was almost scared because I felt like I had it figured out in my head, but I didn't know if that was just fantasy or a dream or something that wasn't going to last, but I was willing to ride with it. So I guess it was more fear than anything else that I would fail. But as time went on, it just got easier and easier and easier. And I still have situational issues where I'll be out mowing the lawn and it'll get really hot and I want a really cold, frosty beer. But I have a solution to that. And if you've noticed, beer companies are now brewing what's called zero alcohol beer. It's not non alcoholic. I don't drink non alcoholic beer because it still has 0.05, even though it's nothing. It's just me. But now they're making zero, like Michelob Ultra Zero, Heineken Zero, and it tastes like the real thing. I just have to be careful that I don't encourage anyone else to do it because if someone else did it and they were kind of shaky, they would maybe lead them back into drinking the real thing. So I don't encourage that. I just say that that's what I do in situations where I know that, man, that's gonna taste good. It's a hot day. I bought a 12 pack of Heineken Zero in Christmas, and there's still like five or six of them left in the fridge. So it's not like I'm down on them like they're beer. It's just on those situations, sitting out at the pool playing Yahtzee with my wife or whatever. You know what? I think I'll have a zero alcohol beer. Okay. It's just like that. It's a little bit of a taste because I actually got used to enjoy the taste of beer. So there are a lot more people drinking non-alcoholic drinks than you may realize, and it's increasing. I think this younger generation has stopped drinking. My kids rarely drink, and I don't know if it's because they saw me drinking a lot, but they tell me no, that's just not what they do, and I appreciate that. I think a lot of the younger generation has stopped drinking. We go on cruises a lot, and we see more and more of them offering mocktail menus and zero alcohol beers, and I think it's great. I can sit at the bar and have a mocktail, a fake mint julep, and Jennifer's drinking a glass of wine. And I never told her she can't drink. I never prohibited her from drinking because that's not her path. It's my path. And it doesn't bother me. She still has a couple glasses of wine at night or, once in a while have a mixed drink. And there's alcohol in the house, but it's not for me because I don't drink. I'm just a person who
Yeah, we've
doesn't
noticed
drink.
that here in Spain, Jamie. There's a massive selection of non-alcoholic beers here. And I too like the taste of beer, so we enjoy that. And
Yes.
it's interesting here because it is so much more prevalent to have a non-alcohol beer. And
I didn't know
all
that.
brands, all flavor. I mean, it's just amazing. Even wine and cava and they all make non-alcoholic versions of all of it. And my daughter is a bartender in Atlanta, and the same thing. Their mocktail list is much more extensive than even their cocktail list. So I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying and seeing.
Yeah, I spent some time in Germany in the late 80s, and I absolutely love their beer.
Mhm.
I mean, they are the master brewers. And I have a strange fear that I don't want to go back to Germany because I'll be tempted to drink their beer again. But I'm like, you know what? That's stupid. I can go to Germany if I want to go to Germany. I won't drink.
And they probably have an huge selection of non-alcoholic beer at this point.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that that was prevalent in Europe now.
It's yeah, complete and much more so than the US, amazingly.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's cool. Okay. It gives me a little hope on going to Europe again.
Absolutely. Yes.
So okay, so I talked about getting out of rehab. How I came about Sober Man on a Mission. So about about 3 years into not drinking, I said, you know what? This is really working for me, this methodology that I'm using about seeing myself as somebody who doesn't drink and really being there in my head every day and feeling it in my emotions. I'm somebody who doesn't drink. I need to write this all down so I can help somebody else do it. So I did. I started writing and I wrote this. It's a 30-page methodology and it's a 7-day program. I don't want to call it steps because it's the 12-step thing. It's 7 days, and you do each day. And if you don't succeed on the first day, you have to repeat the first day until you get it right. So technically it's 7 days, but it could take you 2 or 3 weeks. But it works. And I know it works. So and I've had other people look at it and say, holy cow, this is really good. You're going to help a lot of people with this. So then I thought, you know what? Why don't I start doing videos and catering to men who I can really identify with, men who were, high functioning, successful, like I was in banking, accountants and lawyers and everybody. Why don't I just look at that target market because I can speak to them. I've lived as a man in that world. I don't know the point of view of a woman. I don't know the point of view of anybody else except what I went through. So I thought, you know what? There's got to be a lot of people out there like me who are going through the same struggle that I can help. And so that's my target market. That comes from my business acumen, my target market. So that's who I cater to is the high functioning, successful man who's, he's got a family. He's successful in every measure except one. His drinking is not where he wants it to be, or it's out of control, or he just wants to stop. He's done and doesn't know how. He doesn't want to go to AA because you have when you're in that situation, you go to AA, you have reputational risk there where you see other people from other businesses and you don't want to be seen as someone who needs help because you're strong, you're tough, you've got it all under control. And you certainly don't want to go to rehab. If I did it over again, I wouldn't go to rehab because I've, I would just use my own system to do it. If I was serious, if you're serious, and you have to want to be serious about doing it. If you're serious
Right.
about doing it, the system will work. If you're not, it's not going to work like anything else. And if you put when you go to rehab, I feel like it's all just forced on you and they try to break you down. You're a piece of crap and you have no control over alcohol and it's a beast and it controls you and you have no power. And I just totally rejected all of that. The spirituality part of it, let's say inject. I enjoyed that part of it. And I started going to AA right out of rehab. I went for about 6 months, and the last 10 or 20 times I went, I felt like I just want to stick an ice pick in my temple. I don't want to be here. This is not this is this is not the energy that I want to be around.
Mhm.
God bless them. I'm not putting AA down and I'm not putting rehab down. They help people. Don't get me wrong. It's just not for me. And I know that there are thousands and thousands of men out there like me who get up at 4 a.m. and make a promise to themselves, I'm done with alcohol. But their 5 p.m. brain can't keep that promise because they're driving by the gas station and they've been through a tough day and it's stressful and they know they got to go home and, you know, entertain the kids and put the kids to bed and entertain the wife. And the wife comes home from work and she's stressful and she's under the same kind of pressure. And everything just starts compiling. And the answer for that for a lot of men is numb it with alcohol. So you can be present with your wife and present with your children after work. So
And
how I got
Jamie,
there.
I'm not gonna say it's just for the men coming home at night because I know for myself, like I've mentioned to you that your messages resonate with me. And granted, I've not had an alcoholic beverage. I had to kind of back into it, but it was the summer of 22 was the last time I've had one. But I used to be that person as well, wake up in the morning and all full of energy and facing the day, and I'm going to make the best decisions today and I'm going to get through. And then, oh my goodness, I make my way through work and I leave everything on the table at work and I don't have much in the tank when I would make it home. And it was easy to grab a beverage just to kind of self-soothe and numb just a little bit, just
Right.
to kind of feel like I'm putting that part of the day behind me. And now I can just sit and relax and do whatever that looks like. And it's usually, just a few hours in the evening that I had time with,
Yeah.
my family, making dinner when the kids were still home, what that
Yeah.
looked like. And so, I
Yeah.
mean, I was doing the same thing. I don't label myself as an alcoholic, but most nights I would come home and have one or two beverages. And then on the weekends, it was party time on the weekends because those were the
Yeah.
2 days of freedom that we had, that I would
Right.
just go and play the entire time. And by once Monday morning rolled around, that fog was there. And I'm just looping through another week in the same exact pattern and way that I had been doing it
Yeah.
year after year after year. And like you, I heard a voice that basically said, if you don't make these changes, you're not going to be here. And I was ready to hear that. And I was ready to make the changes. And it wasn't until I was ready and ready to commit to that that it happened for me.
Yeah.
And it was similar with you as far as the mindset with I don't drink. That is
Right.
what I found myself saying. I never went to an AA meeting. I didn't watch, a lot of things about, and my father did. My father he was almost 35 years sober when he passed away in 2019. He was 5 days short of that 35-year milestone when he passed. And so I was heavily exposed to it. I saw it work for him, but there's so many of us who just need that little bit of numbing. And it's so reinforced in everything, all the shows you see on TV, everywhere you go, it's drink alcohol. And I'd see coffee the same way. So I don't know what's going on there, but especially the alcohol. And it's just like it's so socially acceptable, but it's everywhere and tentacles are in everything. And I will say, from a spiritual point of view, from the research that I have done and I have looked into, and what resonates deeply with me is when we have our bodies are polluted with alcohol, our souls will not fully embody in our vessel. And so we allow different things to come in and actually kind of control our lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so your messages resonate deeply with me. I think you're going to help so many people with sharing you and Sober Man on a Mission. So thank you for being
Thank you.
here.
Appreciate it. Let me
And
correct the
I'm
record on
super
something.
excited too about that. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jamie. I just wanted to,
No, it's
so
okay.
I do
Yeah.
have the AA background. I'll be 32 years sober in October if I make it that far.
Oh,
And I went to an outpatient rehab when I first came in. I got sober at 26 years old and I needed it. Lori was part of my history back then when we were party girls, and she's right. Even before we were married and had kids, that was the thing. We worked all day hard, and we played most of the night hard.
yeah.
And I don't know if you remember, Lori, but we had a cooler iced down, a 12 pack of beer in the car ready to go on Friday evenings after work.
Absolutely.
So we didn't even have to go buy it then. And yes, I do realize there are multiple paths to getting sober. Um, I never felt like it was something I couldn't do. I always felt like I had a choice. I can choose. I can choose to drink today or I can choose to not drink today. And I feel like, especially, as society has become a little more open-minded, that the stigma of it is not quite so great, of being in recovery or being in rehab or being, and probably because so many flipping people have done it, right? Um, but I still tell people even now when we're out that I'm allergic to alcohol. I can't drink. It's just an easy way for someone to not even pressure you anymore. And then I turn it into a joke and say it
Right.
makes me break out in places like Birmingham and Atlanta and Dallas. So I can't
Yeah.
drink. I'm allergic.
Yeah. I deal with that
But
in my program too.
yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
so excited to hear about your methodology. I want to learn
Yeah.
more because,
Yeah.
whatever gets this clearing of ourselves, our vessels, whatever accomplishes this, whatever methodology that exists that gets us to that goal, I think is
Yeah.
extremely valuable. And I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for
Yeah.
your thoughts and for what you've
Yeah. Thank
created.
you. Thank you. And it's not just me, it's coming from above too. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm very, very thankful for that. I wanted to correct a record real quick. I felt like when I said come home and entertain the wife, it was kind of disrespectful, and I didn't mean it like that. That was
Oh,
my
no.
mind, like that was my mindset when I was, I've got all this stress from work and now I gotta get home and marriage is hard. Marriage is hard.
Yeah.
So I apologize if I
No.
offended anybody by that. But that's just a male mindset, one that, I shouldn't have had, but I don't have
Well,
now.
in the leadership training that Lori and I have done, we're learning currently right now more and more that every every piece of reality that we create in this life, in this timeline, begins with a thought.
Mhm.
And so when the thought comes to you, like, I've worked all day and now I have to go home and it's another task that I need to connect with my wife. Again, it's all a thought. And so we get to choose how we relate to that and how we perceive that.
Right.
And it can be a task, hell, if I wanted to take a drink in the evening, it would be a task for me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you look at it as an opportunity and I get to versus I have to, it sort of shifts the whole perspective.
Right. Right. And I've struggled with, should I just stay in my lane as a experienced as a male? Should I just stay in that lane or should I expand it to include everybody? Um, and I'm still kind of on the fence about that because I feel like I can speak to the person that I was. And when I make these videos and I do that, that's really who I'm talking to. I'm
Well,
talking to the
I
person
might
that
have
I
some
was.
insight for you there. Um,
Okay.
we are in such a state of division right now along every line imaginable
Right.
and significantly along gender, male versus female or male to
Yeah.
female. Um,
Right.
and in the new world that you've heard us talk about,
Yeah.
it's a requirement that we are unified. Each
Yeah.
of us, each one of us gets to recognize and embody our divine masculine and our divine feminine. And we need men in this world. As a woman, we need men in this world who are open to that and open to those experiences. So I would say if your call to service is with men, you're going to do the most good there by opening those men to embody
Yeah.
everything and include all of us.
Yeah.
So it's
You
not that
don't
you're
you don't know how
excluding
much
women.
yeah, right. I don't want to, and I was just afraid that that's what I was doing, and I needed to hear that from you today. I think that's why I'm here today. Is I needed to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah. Focus on you, focus
Yeah.
on what you're doing and
Yes.
help these men create that in themselves so that they do
Yeah.
embody their divine feminine and they welcome all of us in because that's what we
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
their
tell you,
divine masculine.
yeah,
Absolutely.
God puts certain people, the universe will put certain people in your path to help you along your journey. And I'm just so grateful that he put my wife Jennifer in my path because Lori knows her. She's a very strong female. Well, just a very strong person, period. She doesn't take any BS. She calls it out. you know where you stand with her. And I've been what they call a mama's boy most of my life. I mean, I had the masculine thing going on, playing football in college and weightlifting and all that, but she doesn't treat me like a mama's boy. I have to stand on my own with her. My previous wife, God bless her, I ran over her, and you know, that's another story. But alcohol had a lot to do with that. But Jennifer, I can't run over her even if I tried. And I know that she's in my life to give me that type of temper, which I need, iron sharpens iron kind of thing. So I've, this is going to sound weird, but maybe it's not going to sound weird. I have changed my view on femininity since I quit drinking. I've noticed how men men do dominate the world. They dominate, and I can see how being a woman would be tough. And like I go back and I look through the business world, how it would be tough because Jennifer has told me horror stories, and it pisses me off. Guys coming up to her and rubbing her shoulders and things like that, and then she tells her boss, and her boss is a man, and he doesn't do shit about it. Um, just things like that. And I know there are other horror stories out there we don't need to get into, but since I've quit drinking alcohol, I've really focused in on working on myself and looking at things differently because when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. I've really tried to change the way I've looked at things, even politically, which is a hot button for a lot of people, even as far as male female go, and I can do all of that and still maintain my manhood. I can do all that and I can still be who I am. I didn't know that I was capable of that until I started doing it. So when you guys asked me to come on today, I'm like, wow, because I thought, well, they're just, they're dedicated to the female, it's the female show thing. And I'm like, I'm just flabbergasted and I really, really am grateful and appreciate it. So thank you. And Tammy, you almost brought tears to my eyes when you told me to stay in my lane and keep my perspective. I felt like that's the right thing to do, but I didn't know how it was being perceived by women. So thank you for that.
Do you and do it in excellence and bring more men like you to the field.
Yep. Yep. And
And I'll
this is
tell
the
you,
first real
Jamey,
endeavor I think I've tried that I don't I don't have money as the end goal because I'm retired now and I'm I'm blessed and I know it and not because anything I did. Jennifer's still working and she told me go do your thing. So I'm doing it. And money is not that enabled me to do this without saying, money's the goal. Not it's
Right.
not the goal. I do sell the program online because I feel like if I gave it away, it would devalue it. People wouldn't take it seriously. And if I charged too much, I'd be greedy. So I mean, I set the whole program at $23. And I think if there's a guy doom scrolling at night and he comes across my videos and he's not going to get in trouble with his wife for spending $23.
That's
He'll
right.
get he'll get in trouble for spending $97, but he won't get in trouble for spending $23. At least that's how I look at it as a guy. So I'm not looking at it from a profit motive. I'm looking at it as if I can change somebody's life, the old cliche, if I would do it, even if I just change one person's life, I do believe that, but I also believe that I can change more than one person's life doing this. It's Sober Man on a Mission is fresh. It's only a few months old. It's only a few months old, and it's starting to resonate with a lot of people. And they say the first 2 years doing YouTube videos and stuff is really the school. You're learning, I've learned a lot about editing the videos and and how to place them and all that stuff. I'm constantly watching videos on how to do YouTube right, and I'm not doing it for the reasons that those people think I'm doing it for. I'm doing it for to reach people like me and the guys that are who I was. That's why I'm doing it. So that's my push and that's my motive. And I wake up every day passionate about it. I wake up every day I can't wait to make another video. I'm not being although this is hard, I'm not being a slave to how many subscribers do I got today? How many videos were watched? I've intentionally cut myself off from that. Now I'm like, hey, I picked up 6 subscribers. Hey, Jennifer, I picked up some subscribers today. Yay. But I don't, I'm not a slave to it. I'm a slave to my mission, and I'm okay with that.
It's
My mission is
beautiful.
to
Well,
help people like me honestly, if you help somebody, I'm sorry, if you help somebody change their life like this, alcohol, like you said, Lori, it invades every cell of your body. That's science. That's science. That's true. That's proven. And I can see how it pushes the spirit out, so to speak. It pushes that out, and it's every cell of your body, and it controls you. And your body fights, and it wants to get rid of it. So, helping people stop that health wise is a big benefit, but spiritually too, it's a huge benefit, and it benefits not just them, but it benefits their family and friends. So,
yeah, it's a
Absolutely.
huge ripple effect. It just spreads out across so many people, and then you get to be the way shower for so many who are looking for answers another way. Because, like you said, 12 step, it didn't resonate with you. And after 7 days of being in there, you're like, okay, the information has come in, I've got it. And I'm ready to put this into my life and I'm ready to spread that message. And yes, I love you got the clarity today, that you are on your right path. You're doing exactly what you're
yeah,
supposed to be doing, reaching the people who are meant to see it. And just because they haven't seen it today, I mean, there's so many people who will find their way to Sober Man on a Mission, and they are going to be grateful for those hundreds of videos, however many it is, by the time that they find it, because they can just sit there and reinforce that information to them to help recreate those new neural pathways and update their subconscious, their operating system.
yeah, appreciate that. Yeah,
So thank you, Jamey.
yeah.
We we are nearing the end of our hour. I wanted to give you, Jamey, just a few more minutes to make sure that you bring home any points that you want to land before we close. And Lori, if you have anything you want to land, we'll do that too.
I can't believe it's been an hour.
I
I
know,
feel like I've been
right?
sitting here 5 minutes.
I know.
That's the way we feel every week.
Uh-huh.
Well, I would just say if anything I've said resonates with anyone watching this, if you go to YouTube and just search for Sober Man on a Mission, just type in Sober Man on a Mission, it'll come up. And even if you Google it, it'll pull it up. It's the only one out there. And I've really started branding it and using technology to help me with the videos and help me with the content. So if any of this resonated with anyone, you don't have to be a guy. You go and watch the videos. You know, I feel like I'm providing nourishment to people who need it. Um, you know, and it's non-religious. I'm not coming from a religious perspective on this. It's really neuroscience because your brain is so powerful. Like you said, Tammy, everything comes from here. Thoughts become things, period. And that's proven. And that's quantum too. We should have a show
That's
on
right.
quantum physics. That's awesome.
We
Um,
should.
yeah, thoughts become things. And it starts with your thought. Everything that's ever been created has started with a thought.
Mhm.
So if you see yourself as someone who doesn't drink, you'll be successful. And if you stay in that mindset, you'll be successful. So I guess that's all I wanted to say.
Awesome. Well, Jamey, you're a lot more familiar with YouTube than I am, but I am happy to link your channel to my channel and make sure that anyone who visits me gets to you as well. So we can definitely
Versa.
do
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Absolutely. My neighbor, I was talking to her last night. She's investigating your channel. So hopefully we
Great.
can benefit each other.
Thank you.
Symbiosis. Yeah.
Exactly. Lori, how about you?
Well, I'm just sitting here thinking about how appropriate that our podcast is named The United States of Us. Because, Jamey, you being here, we are United States of Us, all of us. All of us, men, women, however we identify, whatever that looks like for people, we are all here just to help walk each other home and make it through this crazy world that we have just been so programmed to believe so much that's not even real. And so, Jamey, thank you again for being here with us, sharing your message, and we look forward to continuing on this path and learning more about you too, and your continued success with Sober Man on a Mission.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much,
Appreciate it very
Jamey.
much.
And thank you
Thank
for
you.
having the thought. Thank you for creating the program. And thank you for bringing Sober Man on a Mission to the world.
Thank you.
All right, viewers, with that, we are going to end today and we will be back next week with me and Lori for the topic du jour. You guys have a great evening. Goodbye.
Bye. Love y'all.